Hello and welcome to a special Patreon edition of Ask Doug and Eddie, or is it Eddie and Doug? I'm never sure
It
which it
says
is.
right there at the bottom.
I
Ask
know
Doug and Eddie.
it's alphabetical order, so you get the advantage on this one barely. But no, we asked for this a couple of weeks ago because I was scrambling to get an interview and it didn't look like it was going to happen. And then I said, well, this is the old standby. We've done this. Seems like once a year, pretty much every year we've done the show.
At
And
least,
it's
yeah.
and it's fun. It's fun for us. People seem to like it, and it's kind of a different offshoot of the off ice report, I guess, a little bit. People asking us questions. Hopefully, I haven't actually gone over these questions, which may be good or bad, but hey, it's Patreon, so if there's some stuff in here that's objectionable, whatever. You guys are paying for it, so it's a little extra content, but. We are going.
Earmuffs, children.
Yeah, exactly. We are going to release this to you guys early. We want to give you exclusive content, but when we have other things, we also want to let you get first crack at it, so to speak. So we are going to put this out there in a week or so for the rest of the unwashed, if you will, to enjoy. But little extra for you on Patreon to say thank you for your support as well.
Where does that term come from? The unwashed.
I don't know. I don't know. Do you know?
I've never heard you use that before to describe the poor.
Okay.
I'm just curious if you heard it in a recent movie or if that's a Ben Maller phrase.
I mean, it came from in here. Came from in here. I don't know where it came from. Who knows? God knows where it came from.
Yeah.
But
before we get into this.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I had my parents had like an intercom system in our house, pretty good sized house. Now that I think back on it, when you grow up, it's just the house, but it was a big house. And so they had this intercom system and it had the main unit had a radio and they were all connected. So you could turn the radio on or off in any room. Each room had a speaker and you could talk. You got basically a walkie-talkie like, hello, dinner time. And then the whole house would hear dinner time, or you could just back and forth. So you could turn on the radio and then so when I was home alone, because I was a latchkey kid, my sister had already gone off to college. I'd get home, I'd turn on the radio, I'd turn on every speaker in the house. Doesn't matter where I am. And that thing would be blaring. I could hear the music throughout the house. That's been a long time. The reason I thought of that is I just discovered I can do the same thing with my Amazon smart devices. So in every room other than this one right now, music is a pumping. And I'm going about my day, doing my little stuff, futzing around the house. And it's very nice. It takes me back to being a kid, home alone. Jackie's at work. It's very nice.
Interesting. I wear headphones if I want to hear music walking around the house or whatever. So no intercom system for me. What are you drinking? You got an RC Cola going on there?
I do not. I got the nectar of the pedophiles. Sweet tea.
Well, I've never heard that before. Where have you heard that from? Was that some comedy routine or?
Yeah, that's a comedy bit from Nick DiPaolo where he talked about To Catch a Predator and how every time they go in, the girl's always immediately leaving the room like, hey, come on in. I just got to put this laundry in the dryer. I left some sweet tea on the counter. Every one of these guys, it's like moths to a flame. They can't resist it. Oh, sweet tea. I'll go to prison for 20 years. That stuff's delicious.
Okay. Now I feel guilty about liking sweet tea. So anyway, we had, it's funny. I know you kind of run the Twitter account. I've been a little bit more active on there lately, just retweeting things usually. And I'm kind of the guy that runs the Facebook page. And it seems like, Facebook is kind of, I don't know if it's for older people, but it seems like Twitter is a little bit more for the younger folks, I guess.
No.
But every once in a while, I think that, because I post stuff on Twitter and usually it doesn't get much of a reaction. I mean, hopefully people are just like, oh, Leonard's out for the year or whatever, that's fine. But every once in a while I'll post something and be like, oh, I guess people are still on there. And that was the case with this because we had 8 Twitter questions we had 3 pages of Facebook questions. So every once in a while I am reminded, yeah, there are people that still frequent the Facebook page. So that's all. So that's good. So thank you to all who submitted the questions
Here,
about a month ago.
absolutely. But here's how I look at social media. So Facebook was the first one, and you can write whatever you want on there, right?
Okay.
Well, MySpace. I'm talking that still exists.
Right.
So Facebook and MySpace were the first ones, but Facebook was the one, and you could write as much as you want. You can put pictures, you can put videos, you can do whatever you want. Then Twitter comes along, and they're like, hey, slow down, only 140 characters. So Twitter became Facebook for people that don't like to read. Give it to me in a fortune cookie. I want to read, just get it down to the brass tacks. What's the point of the story? Too long, didn't read, here you go. Then Instagram comes around and it's like, hey, fuck reading entirely. I ain't here to read. I'm illiterate. I want to look at pictures. And then that didn't hold people's interest. So TickTock came around because videos at 10 seconds or under, now we're talking. So it's just this devolvement of interaction, and it's like the menus. You go to a nice restaurant, they'll tell you all about where the food was made, how it's prepared. You go to Waffle House, it's just a picture. You know, just the waffle with the sausage. Yep, that's the one I want. That's me. You know, I don't even want to communicate. Just
All right.
So that's what I think. I don't like Twitter, really. I'm on it a lot because it's active and it's a good source for information. I can't stand Instagram. I haven't even bothered with TikTok yet, but
yeah,
that's where the people are too. Like old people on Facebook, middle-aged people on Twitter, and young people, and then young people on Instagram, really young people on TikTok.
Yeah, I found myself more on Twitter than anything. I think it's because it's kind of like text messaging, which I like to do. You know what I mean? It's brief, but it's not. I'm on Instagram, but I almost never post anything. And then TikTok, you'd have to put a gun to my head to be a part of that thing. But
well, I think, and I can't prove it, but I believe that if either you or I signed up for TikTok, we would go on a government list. There's no reason a man in his 50s, a man in his 40s with no children should be on TikTok. There's just not. Again, you like sweet tea and you're on TikTok? Oh, we're watching you, friend.
All right. And with that, let's get into it. And again,
apologies for the obscenities, by the way.
No, you don't. You're not sorry. If you have never experienced Ask Doug and Eddie or Ask Eddie and Doug, basically we just encourage you to ask us any questions that you would like to know. And we've been doing this for a long time, so a lot of people probably know us pretty well, but you never know. And I don't know how many of these are hockey questions. There's usually a few of those in there, but mostly it's usually other things. And frankly, we kind of like the other things because most of the time the show is about hockey. So anyway, all right. The first Twitter question, I will go first. This is from Aranthos Beretta. He's at Aranthos, and he's emailed the show before, so that is an unusual name, but it's a familiar name. And he asks a couple of questions. He says, have either of you ever had any experience with food that turned off something for the rest of your life? And he gives an example, walking in on parents' fruity foreplay.
Oh, Jesus.
Or, oh no, I'm not reading that.
I will. Or finding a rubber at the bottom of a mayonnaise jar. And then he's got more questions there.
I mean, thank you for that second example. I mean, Jesus.
Well, that's the worst. I mean, because it's at the bottom.
The third question is, what are your worst, best, and most embarrassing holiday experiences? Have you ever eaten something that turned you off to something for the rest of your life? Jesus
well, I haven't eaten at Taco Bell in 30 years.
Yeah.
Because a moth flew out of my food.
Yeah.
And I actually ate at Del Taco for the last time ever last night.
Last night?
Yeah. I was on my way home from work, It's 3 in the morning. I'm hungry. Options are limited. I'm like, you know what? A burrito sounds good. Go to Del Taco, order the combo burrito. First of all, I pull up to the window or the machine. There's nobody in line. There's nobody anywhere near it. So I don't feel like shouting because what the hell's the point? Hello, can I help you? I'd like a combo burrito. I'm sorry? A combo burrito. Can you speak up? How can this? Can I just come to the window and tell you? Why do I have to scream it across an empty parking lot at 3 in the morning? So anyway, I got it. I got home. I ate it. Tasted fine. I felt bad immediately and for 12 hours afterwards. No joke.
All right. Well, the Doug and Mexican fast food clearly are not to beat.
Yeah, that ain't happening. Good. Cheap Mexican fast food. I'll go to a good.
Well, is there any other Mexican fast food other than those two?
Well, I mean, like the place I used to go and get you food when you would come up and do the show. Yeah. I don't consider that cheap Mexican fast food. That's a Mexican restaurant that does takeout. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but that's not fast food, like a chain.
No, that's true. All fast food is cheap. That's true.
I can't think of anything that I've ever eaten that I'm like, well, I'm never eating this again. I'm obviously not a very adventurous eater for the most part. My palate has certainly expanded since I was a kid or in college, but then again, it had nowhere to go but up when it's the basic, my food groups were pizza, burger, taco, chicken, that's about it. There were vegetables. I don't think there's no vegetables anyway. Worst, or most embarrassing holiday experience. I don't know. I played Santa Claus one time for the family of my girlfriend at the time. It was okay, I guess. I don't know if it was embarrassing, but it was.
How did that come about?
They must have asked me to do it, and I was like, okay. I can't imagine though. I can't imagine those kids were fooled. They're like, we know who you are. I mean, I'm like 19 at the time.
Take us through this. You're 19. This is before I met you.
Yes.
So you're 19. You got a girlfriend.
She has a big family.
It's going well enough. Yeah, it's
a lot
of
well kids.
You know her family.
Yeah.
And so one of them asks you, "Hey, would you dress up as Santa?"
And she had a grandpa, so I guess maybe he was.
Well, that would have given it away if Grandpa's not there.
I suppose, but yeah.
So
they seem to enjoy it all right. I don't know.
Did you come in with the presents?
I don't think so. I just came in with the suit on, and then the presents were handed to me, and I'm like, "Oh, this is for Maria. Come get your present from Santa Claus." It's 19, 20-year-old Santa Claus. Ridiculous. Of course, I had a great beard. So
give us a ho ho ho.
Ho ho ho.
Now you're getting close to where you have the cherubic cheeks, the gray beard. You could probably.
I've always had those cheeks.
I know you have.
So I got the nickname.
Is that right? Chipmunk?
Yeah, chubby cheeks, like a chipmunk.
I always thought it was Chip off the old block since you were named exactly after your dad.
Not exactly. Different middle name.
Different middle name, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Go ahead. You're up next. I hope that helped you out there. And thanks for the rubber and the mayonnaise thing. Ugh.
I remember that takes me back to my teacher in middle school drank a soda and found I think a cockroach at the bottom. And I remember her saying, that's the worst time to find it because you've already drank the soda. Like if you open it up and you find it, you haven't drank any of it, you throw it away. Mm-hmm. But I already drank an entire soda that had a cockroach in it. Good God.
But we're off to a great start here. Why don't you read the next one?
Not a Phase says, hey, Doug and Eddie, how do you feel GM Bill Armstrong is doing in Arizona? Would love to know your opinions on this and his teardown and how it compares to Chicago's teardown. I feel like he's doing it the right way and keeping core players like Keller and Schmaltz. Look forward to it. I mean, he's doing it the only way he can, right? The teardown is the easy part. The demo is the easy part. Take dynamite to a roster, blow it up, get rid of all the good players for whatever you can get for them. Take on bad contracts that other teams don't want, sign veterans that have no other option, load up on draft picks, load up on prospects, and try and build it through there. But where he goes, he's done that. Where he goes from here is the important part. And Arizona's weakness, especially for the next 3 years, is they cannot recruit a free agent to save their life. I think if a player had any other option other than Arizona, they would sign there. Because why would you sign with a team that is a doormat, is playing in a 5,000 seat arena, or is it 3,000?
5,000.
Very
I
small.
think.
Huh?
I think it's 5,000.
Yeah, very small arena. You're playing in literally a college facility. Why would you sign there if you can sign with any other team? So he's kind of got his hands tied. Now, Chicago is a different thing. That team is an original six, great history, great market, great city, great arena. His teardown, again, very easy to do. And when he gets rid of Taves and Kane in the coming years, easy to do. But it's building it back up and building it the right way that it is sustainable. Very tough. So Bill Armstrong, I don't want to say he's doing a good job, because I don't think anybody could do anything differently. Unless you're trading for players that are on good contracts, that are good players, but then they're going to you got to think they're going to tell their agent, get me the hell out of here. So Chicago, I think, is doing an interesting thing that I think Boston should have done. I think Boston should have told Pierre Bergeron, we'll make the decision for you. We're blowing this up, because they're not good enough to win a cup with this crew anymore. If Rask was still there, sure, he's not. They don't have the elite goaltending. They don't have the quality depth. I would have done what Chicago did. So I respect what Chicago's doing, but Arizona, I think, is they're just taking the only path available to them.
And I know he said that they're keeping the core, Keller and Schmaltz. He'll trade anybody if he gets the right deal. I don't think there's anybody there that he's like, let's build around this guy, because Jacob Chikrin apparently is available for the right price. And that's a guy I would think you'd want to build around, a young guy who's cheap and has been a pretty good player. But I know for a fact that he would have traded him to the Kings had certain pieces. Well, I shouldn't say known for a fact, but it apparently is known that he would trade Jacob Chikrin to the Kings if they included one of their top level prospects, which they're not willing to do. So he's, like I said, he'll ship anybody out if he can get the right price for it. But I guess anybody would in that situation.
I was going to say, Wayne Gretzky was traded twice. So the number of players that are, hang up the phone immediately when somebody calls, if the price is right, I can't say no. I can't imagine what the price would have to be to get Trevor Zegras off the Ducks right now. But if somebody said, we'll give you, our next 5 first-round picks and 2 good prospects and a good player. Okay, Trevor, let me help you pack. I don't want to trade you, but that's too much to offer, or that's too much to turn down.
And just like the game you like to play, how much would I have to pay you to do blank? At some point, I'm saying there's a number.
Right. And that's something I've done with Eddie and all my friends for 35 years now, is just, I see something and, we're at Burger King. You order your food and I say, how much would I have to pay you? When they call your order out, you go over there, you sit on the food, and then you turn around and say, I'm not eating this. This food's been sat on. And then walk out. How much, and you're like, $50. Now, I never had the money back then. But if I ever win the lottery, that show is going on the air. And it's going to be hilarious.
Would you do it with just strangers?
Yes, I have the entire concept. It's called what's your price? It's a reverse auction. You have 4 tasks. You're going to have to do one of them. The first one is the easiest task. Second one is medium. Third one is hard. Fourth one could be the easiest, or could be the hardest. Yeah.
Wild card.
So, but if you're the last one left, you have to do that 4th task, no matter what it is. So that's why your incentive is to bid against the people, like how much to, go. I don't know what it would be. How much to lick a stranger's shoe, the sole of somebody's shoe. I'll do it for $30. I'll do it for $25. I'll do it for $10. All right. And then you're like, I can't believe I did that for $10, but the next one's going to be worse. And the next one's going to be worse. And then the fourth one could be like, shake my hand. There you go. And that's it. And it's like, damn, I should have held out. So that's where you got to play the game of maybe that fourth one.
You got to pitch that. It's a good idea.
Yep. The other one I have, the other show is called Move It or Lose It.
We know that one. You've said that one before. Let's move on. The next Twitter question comes from John Wallace Howell. He's at John Howell 77. He says, if you could add, change, remove one rule from the NHL, what would it be and why? And we've had this one over the years, but God knows it's probably changed now and then. I think I would be open to doing something a bit more imaginative with the power play. Either no icing or the power play is over when the 2 minutes or whatever is up. Doesn't matter if you score. You can score as many goals as you want. You get a 2-minute power play. Something like that, I think, with the power play, I think I would be interested in seeing how that works out.
And I would get rid of the blue lines. No reason to have them. They do nothing to make the game better. What do we care? What do we care where you are on the ice? You want to cherry pick? Cherry pick. You're not going to be defending.
I wouldn't do that one, but okay. You're next.
I don't think many people would though. But if you want to, I just hate the number of goals that are taken away every year because somebody was offside or play blown dead.
I know, but I'm just saying I get that, but I don't want to see some guy standing back next to the goal.
I don't think it would be either though, because now you got a 5-on-4. You basically have a power play in the defensive zone. So you can bang your stick and hope for a breakout pass, and then the goalie's right next to you. He can beat. And I don't think it would come up too often.
All right.
Our next one comes from SJ. He says, question for Doug. That's convenient. Getting a degree in journalism and then trying to look for a job in the current market has been tough. Any advice on how to break into the industry of reporting and getting exposure? Well, SJ, it has always been tough. When I got my degree in journalism, 1997, the only job available to me was doing obituaries in a small newspaper in Colorado. And I said, do I want to do that? No. So
that was the only thing they were going to have you do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was my main task. I wasn't just sitting around all day waiting for somebody to die so I could spring to action, but that was the main task, right? So I'm sure I would have been involved in sales or helping out in other departments. Yeah. But and that's back when newspapers existed. So doing it now, it's a completely different world. My advice would be to just establish your own brand. Find what you want to cover. Do it on the internet. Either create your own website, create your own blog, create your own podcast, create your own video channel, whatever it is you want to do, and dedicate yourself to that. The other thing would be go small, micro reporting. I've thought for years that if I ever I would love to go to whatever the local news station is. We're here in Los Angeles, Ed. What do you think is the lowest rated local news channel? Like CBS, NBC, Fox, and NBC are all pretty good. But KCOP, who's watching them for news, right?
I guess. I don't watch any of them, so I'm bad.
I know, but I mean, the independent news channels, like why do they got the KCOP's news? Nobody watching this. They could give away the cure to cancer. People would remain dying of it for decades. So I would go to them and I'd say, give me control of the newsroom here. I don't know why you would, but I can make you this promise. Within 2-3 years, you're going to be way up in the ratings. You're going to change the way news is done in Southern California, because I'm not going to we're not covering the world, and we're not covering the fluff pieces. We're going to micro analyze the city council, the city stuff. We're going to tell you actually things that matter in Southern California that aren't reported. Here's what was happening at the city council meeting today. I don't need to tell you what happened with President Biden. You're not getting that from KCOP. Oh, word? Let me tune in. Hold on, honey. KCOP here's telling me the election results. No, you got that on your phone. You got that from somewhere else. But you're not hearing what happened at city council. Hey, it says here they're raising the parking, violations, or they're going to close down this street, or they're going to do this. They're going to change a law that raises the sales tax on cigarettes. That's the stuff you need to know, and it's not reported. So that's what I would focus on. And we'd also get rid of weather and sports.
Wow, that's great.
Weather in Southern California. What do you think it's going to be?
John Pullman asks, if you were going to expand the NHL to 34 teams, where would it be, and what would the names of the team be? Each Eddie and Doug get to pick one of the locations and name each. Also, what would the jerseys generally look like for each team? So we each get to pick a team for the
it's an expansion team.
33rd and 34th teams in the NHL.
Yep.
Do you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
You read it. You go first.
Well, I would say it seems pretty obvious that there's been a lot of talk about getting a team back in Quebec. So I'll take the easy layup and say we'll bring back the Nordique, and the uniforms will be the way they were back when they played. And I don't know, I guess we'd have to have Colorado sign off on this. But maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't, but something along the lines of the old Quebec Nordique. I'd bring them back.
And I'm going third time's the charm. Welcome back, Atlanta Thrashers. And I can guarantee Winnipeg would say, take it. You got it. We don't want anything to do with it. You get the jerseys, you get the legacy, you get the whole thing. It's all yours. But that's a major, major city with a good arena already in place that is unserved by professional hockey, and I would like to see him get another shot with a good ownership.
Third time's the charm, like you said. Yep. Third time's the charm.
If only to bring back the barbecue brisket nachos.
Has there ever been a third time? Because, like, I think the Supersonics probably are going to come back at some point.
Well, Colorado, the Avalanche are a second team.
Yeah, I know. Has there ever been a third, though?
Let's see.
In any sport. Nothing's coming to mind. Maybe there is, but nothing is immediately coming to mind. I'm sure.
No.
I mean, something back in the day, I guess you could say, oh, they had the Cleveland Spiders originally or whatever. But I'm talking about, somewhat modern era.
If St. Louis ever gets, I think the closest we'll get is St. Louis getting a football team.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah. Cardinals, Rams, and then whatever. Yeah. As far as the uniforms, like I said, I'd stay with
I liked the ones that had Atlanta going down the arm.
Uh-huh.
I liked the big Thrasher logo. I liked that. So, yeah, it would be a no-brainer to bring back that. I mean, there'd be a whopping 100 people at the hey, the Thrashers are back rally, but I don't give a damn. We'll sell tickets. We'll get people in the barn. You put a good product on the ice, people will show up. Next one is from Ozzy. He says, what do you think about the system where the NHL and AHL would promote and relegate teams? It feels like a great type of chaos. Well, it certainly does to you and me, Ozzy, but I also don't want the Bakersfield Condor in the NHL and the Anaheim Ducks in the AHL, or the Toronto Maple Leafs in the AHL, but the Stockton Thunder are in the NHL. That's absurd. So it's not going to work building-wise. Obviously, the owners are never going to sign off on it because they'd lose their shirts. And the next time they lose a nickel voluntarily will be the first time. So I think it's great on like a video game system or something just, for fun. But I would not be in favor of it as an actual fan because it would be devastating to the fan bases that got relegated. And I don't think there's enough. I don't think the AHL teams would suddenly be like, oh, things are popping off here in Iowa now that the Iowa Wild are in the NHL. I don't think so.
Well, I'm sure they would love being a part of the NHL TV package and all the money that comes along with it. I'm definitely sure of that. But I don't know how this actually works in soccer. I know in football and in Europe and whatnot, they do have this, and it is interesting. The guy I work with, Ben Maller, is a huge proponent of this. Of course, he doesn't tell you how exactly it could ever really happen, but and I get it. He's so anti-tanking, which we do see in sports a lot now, especially like in the NBA, maybe even in baseball, where teams, I mean, it's obvious. And we see it in football too, I guess. Like the Dolphins, there were open accusations that the owner had told the former head coach to lose games and he would pay him a bonus or whatever. So I guess this is a direct system to try and combat that. Because if you do that, you're out of the league. But I just don't see any feasible way that it could actually ever happen. It's a fun idea to think about, but yeah, I don't think it could ever happen.
No.
Go ahead.
No, it's just I agree. It's not going to happen.
Todd Cassell says, if you were a pizza, what type of pizza would you be? And would you prefer to be folded and eaten by me or gobbled sloppily by our pugs as table begging prizes? Okay. I suppose if I was a pizza, I would be the Hawaiian pizza since I was born in Hawaii. So the old pineapple, although my parents used to eat pineapple and pepperoni pizza, and I much preferred that to the traditional pineapple and ham or Canadian bacon. I've never been much of a ham fan, but I like pepperoni. So I would say give that a try. I'll make that. That'll be the Eddie Garcia pizza. A little Hawaiian with the pineapple on there. I know some people are very against that. My wife, one of them. And instead of the ham, let's go the pepperoni. That will be me. And you could fold me in half and enjoy me.
Back when I was first dating Jackie, and you're kind of figuring everything out about each other, I remember ordering a pizza. I said, "What do you want on the pizza?" She said, "I don't care." I'm like, "You don't care?" She's like, "No fish, no fruit. Other than that, get whatever you want." I'm like, "All right." So that takes no pineapple, no anchovies. Yeah. Everything else is on the table.
And my wife likes anchovies on pizza, which I am like, no way.
I've never even tried it. It's just I can't get past the visual of it. I can't look at it.
It's not like there's a little fish on there with eyeballs looking at you or whatever. It's just,
some places there are, my friend.
Well, I haven't seen that.
That's not good. But anyway, I would be the supreme pizza, a little bit of everything. And by all means, give me to your dogs. Adorable poochies. Got my dogs sleeping. If you hear the growling, both dogs are sleeping at my feet here. So.
Same for me. Spencer started to snore a lot. He's getting older now. The little guy, Spencer, he's starting to snore a bit now. But maybe that's with age. I have no idea.
This is the beginning of the age of Delquarius. He's got the next question, Ed. Besides Fresno State, what's the best place you've watched college football? I think we answered this a couple days ago or a couple weeks ago.
Did we?
Yeah, because we were talking about we've been to Colorado, which was a great one. We've been to Seattle, which was a great one. I've been to Ole Miss to see Fresno State, and I think it's very hard to beat. I think Oregon was the most scenic location. But the stadium was exactly the same as Bulldog Stadium. So the stadium was not the nicest place. Seattle, very scenic, tough to beat that. But I got to give it to Colorado. It was on campus. We had a great trip. Seeing Ralphie and the Buffalo come storming onto the field. The atmosphere was fantastic. The scenery was lovely, as you might recall, Ed.
Oh, yes.
And that was my favorite place was Colorado.
Well, it's definitely one of those three for sure. It's either Colorado, Oregon, or Washington, University of Washington. I think I'm going to go Oregon. And I know you said that the stadium is just like ours. Well, originally it was. They've done massive multi-million-dollar upgrades on theirs, so it's much nicer than our stadium now. Originally, though, it was, yes. Exactly like ours. Ours never has improved since the 70s, where there is much different. But yeah, I remember walking through basically the forest on our way to the stadium was just ridiculous.
Yeah, we had breakfast at this great restaurant that made great, like homemade everything. Nothing but college football fans in there all going to the game. We get done, we follow the mob through this forest, and then it opens up to the stadium, and we're like, it was Field of Dreams. It was like, this is unbelievable. And then the walk back to the hotel from there, that was fantastic.
If only we would have won, because we won in Colorado and in Washington, but we did not win at Oregon. It was a good game, though. Correct. But anyway, on to the Facebook questions. Why don't you start it off? I believe it's your turn.
I just read.
Oh, no, you're wrong. I'm wrong. I'm wrong.
Yeah.
This is from old buddy Mark S. Posner. I wonder what the S stands for. Any guesses?
Sylvester.
I'm going to go with Saul. Better Call Saul Posner. He says, Eddie, how does it feel to be back playing hockey again? Is it different after a long time off? Doug, do you miss it? I can answer Doug's part of that. He does not miss it, especially after breaking his wrist. It feels great to be back. I mean, I didn't have a huge layoff, but I assume he's talking about after COVID. It was both a realization that I actually could get by without it, because I always thought it's such a huge part of my life, frankly, of my recreational life, that it would be like a huge void. It wasn't quite that. I definitely missed it, but I did kind of realize, if I ever suffer some injury and I'm like, that's enough of this, I'd be fine without it. But I did miss it, and I do love it. And we got our playoff game coming up here in a couple hours. So yes, it feels good to be back playing again.
And Eddie is correct. I don't miss it one bit. Not one bit. Robert Marcellini writes in saying, been wondering about the Puck Podcast hockey game. Any plans I can help with all the player moves this off season? Are we missing anything?
I guess I should answer this.
Yeah, because I'm not involved in it at all.
It's definitely something I want to do. I don't know if it's a good idea to do it like once the NHL season starts. My idea is to try and somehow have it be a game we played like in the early afternoon, and then maybe we all go to a Ducks game or a Kings game or something. I have no idea if that is feasible or if people even want to do that, but that's kind of the idea I've had to see if we could do that. But I definitely am planning on it. I told you last week on the show, Doug, I'm cleaning out my garage. I have a number of, remember we were going to play the Puck Podcast hockey game right before COVID. I mean, literally right before. And I had paid the money to the rink and everything. And then it got canceled. I have the jerseys of like 10 or 11 guys in my garage who, if you've paid for a jersey and you want your jersey, contact me and I'll do what I can to get you that jersey. I think we kind of just assumed, well, next time we meet, you can just give it to me then. I am planning on doing another game here, but I know like Brandon Andreasen, who is in, I believe is he still in Vegas, Doug?
Yeah.
I mean, I've got his jerseys. So, I mean, Brandon, if you want them, let me know and we'll get them to you, or we can just wait until we see you again. But I am planning on trying to see if we can get another game here sometime in October, maybe. So if anyone is interested in that, stay tuned. I guess I'll read the next one since that one was kind of for me anyway, in a way.
Yeah,
it's my turn anyway. That's right. Anyway, yeah. Denise Aitchison says, where are you planning to travel to next? And what is your dream location that you haven't visited? She says, I'm going to Minneapolis, Minnesota and Iowa to see family. I have a lot of dream locations, but I have to pick Banff, Canada, Greece, and Rome. So I guess that's for the both of us. You went to Italy not too long ago.
Greece just to see like the musical?
Probably not.
Do you think they still perform the musical there?
I don't know if they ever did.
Seems like a natural.
Does it? Now Rome is on the list for me. My wife has talked about wanting to go back to Europe, and she wants to go back to London and Paris, which we've already done. And I'm like, okay, but if we go, I want to go to at least one new place that I haven't seen before. And so that was my choice would be Rome. I know next year we are planning on going to New York for a football game. The Chargers are playing the Jets, and I've never been to New York. So that's certainly one in the U.S. that needs to get crossed off the list.
I can answer for you. You're not going to like it.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I think it should be my call on that. You know what I mean?
That whether or not you like it?
Yeah. I mean,
no. I think
even if you're right, I think it's a place I should go see before.
Yeah. No. I got it. Knowing you as I do, I don't think you're going to like it. But by all means, go see the game and enjoy the I think you'll enjoy the game, the stadium, which of course is not even in New York. But
True.
Where are you planning to travel to next? Then is that your next planned trip?
Yes.
So my next trip, I don't know. I think Panama Canal. I think we're going to do a cruise through the Panama Canal.
Wow.
I think that's the next one coming up.
Is that a very scenic thing to see the Panama Canal? Is that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's just one of the natural wonders, not natural. It's one of the man-made wonders of the world that they built this canal literally through land to allow the shipping to shave weeks off of the.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know why it was built.
Yeah, but I mean, just going through there and seeing how it works, being in a ship that comes in here and then the water raises you up and you go over here and then there's a huge man-made lake in the middle. I mean, It's Central America, so I think it'll be scenic anyway, but that's going to be the next trip. And then the dream one is to go on safari at some point in Africa. That would be awesome. And just see the vastness of it, the different animals. And that would be fantastic. My parents went on that many, many years ago now, stayed in these, they kind of drove from place to place. And then when they got there were tents already set up because that's what the company did. And so you had a tent with a bed and a mosquito net over the bed. And so it was a nice tent. It wasn't like sleeping in sleeping bags, but they told you, they'd cook out at the outdoors and then, oh, sun's going down, time to go in your tent. Do not come out for any reason of your tent at night, period.
Wow. Sounds like
and so my dad's like, we're laying in bed and we can hear things walking by and sniffing and rubbing up against the outside of the tent. I'm about to piss myself. Are you kidding me? I wouldn't get out of there if it was on fire. So he's like, the animals, because they know where there's food. And so they just come right in, all the wildlife. He's like, you have no idea what's out there. It could just be a gazelle, but you're imagining a lion and you're just.
Sounds wonderful.
Yeah. And then he said in the morning when they come and say everybody can come out, everybody's like, oh, did you hear that? Oh, my God.
Is everybody still here? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Exactly. So that would be fun to me. Hart writes in, what is your mother's maiden name and the last 4 digits of your social security number? That's an interesting question. Wow. Eddie, I'll let you go first. Hart writes in, he says, I love the podcast intro, but I can't make part of it out. Everybody's on their feet screaming, Gale, 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 Gale. This is hockey. What is Gale or who is Gale? Or is it possibly Gil? I'm going to feel like a moron when I hear the answer, aren't I? Probably. It's Gil.
Yeah. Yes, you are.
Kill.
Gale.
Kill is what he is saying.
Yes, and everyone is on their feet screaming, kill, 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 kill. This is hockey.
Yep.
Come on.
That is from Slapshot, correct?
That is from Slapshot, yes.
Slapshot 3?
Nope. Just the only Slapshot that's worth watching. The original. I hope Hart is kidding, by the way, but if not, it's hilarious.
No, I don't think he's kidding at all.
But he hasn't seen the movie Slapshot?
A lot of people haven't. I haven't seen Godfather.
All right.
But I do know that, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse, and the horse's head. I know all that stuff.
Yeah. That's like me with The Wizard of Oz. I've never seen The Wizard of Oz yet. I'm pretty sure I know everything about The Wizard of Oz. Doug Wilson, who we both met.
You just skipped one.
Oh, I did skip one. Sorry. Doug, you'll get Doug. So I've got James R. Curry. If you can go back and be in the crowd for any one single hockey game in history, which would it be? Very easy for me. The Miracle on Ice. That's an easy one for me.
All right. So I will not pick the same one because that would probably be there. Off the top of my head, and I think I'm going to surprise Eddie with this one, I would go to the Miracle at Manchester.
Yeah.
I would want to be there. I would want to be the guy that said, this game ain't over. This game ain't over. I'll take any bet you want. Come on, all the action you want. I'd be like the Trading Places, the end of that, where I'm just buying all the bets and everybody, I'll take $30.
Sell.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm cashing in at the end. But plus, it would just be great to see that comeback against that team in that moment, because that was against the Oilers, correct?
Yeah, that's a great one. I was also thinking maybe Mario's game where he had the 6 goals. Was it 6 different ways or whatever?
5
goals. Sorry.
Yeah, 5 goals, 5 different ways. But yeah, I would Miracle on Manchester would be the one. And if you don't know what that is, it was a game in the 80s where the Kings were down. What was it, Ed? 5-1.
Yeah, something like that.
In the third period, and came back to beat the Wayne Gretzky, Mark Messier, Yari Curry Oilers in overtime. And it was here in Los Angeles. I would love to go back and be at that game and see that comeback. Even though I hate the Kings, but it'd just be an amazing atmosphere. And the old Forum, beats the doors off the Staples Center for atmosphere. I'm lucky enough to have gone to a few games at the Forum.
All those old buildings do.
Yeah.
Chicago Stadium, the Igloo, because they didn't have all the luxury boxes and all that. It was more intimate.
It was just one sea of people.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. Doug Wilson writes in, how did the two of you wind up studying at Fresno State? Did you know others who had gone there? A good program in broadcasting, a scholarship? How did Karen and Jackie get into hockey and their teams? Doug, well, let's start there, and then he has more. I went there because my parents told me we were happy to pay for you to go to college to any Cal State University school you want. And I said, okay. And so I looked at the map, and I didn't want to go where anybody I went to high school was going. And a lot of people that I went to school with were going to go to Fullerton because it's close, or San Diego State. And so we had family friends in Bakersfield. And for some reason, Fresno State got on the list. And so I said, let's go up and see these two schools. So we go up to Cal State Bakersfield, and it's about the size of my bathroom. I mean, it was just not impressive at all as a campus. So next day we go up to Fresno, we get there, I get out, and it's a nice campus. And compared to Bakersfield, it looks like paradise. I'm like, oh, now we're talking. And I go over and I see the football field, the stadium, and the baseball stadium, which they don't have at Bakersfield. And I'm like, yep, this is it. So that was literally the only school I applied to. Nobody I went to high school with went there. I could get a fresh start. It was far enough away that my parents were not going to go there and just drop by, which they did. My sister went to Long Beach State. My parents would just, let's go see Susie. What the hell? I don't want that. You're in college, trying to be independent, trying to have fun. So I said, I learned from her mistake. So it was just a perfect distance because I could get home within 4 hours, but nobody was just going to drop by unannounced. So that's how I ended up there.
Well, look, I grew up in Central California. And so most of the kids in that area, if they were going to go local, were going to Fresno State. I wanted to go to San Diego State where my cousin was going to school and frankly could not afford to live there. And frankly, had I gone there, I would probably not have graduated because I had friends that went there and I would go visit them and I would end up like staying. I'd go like on a Friday and then I'd end up coming back to Fresno on like a Wednesday just because I didn't want to leave. And there wouldn't have been a lot of studying there. Fresno, there's not that much to do. So it turned out to be the best thing for me. But it was just because that was the local school that most of the kids in the Central Valley ended up going to. Yeah. Did you know others?
How did Karen and Jackie get into hockey?
Well, for my wife, Karen, she got into it because of me. Just the same way she got into college football because of me. She's strictly an NFL fan and that's her thing. And she's big into that. As a matter of fact, she's at the Chargers preseason game against the Cowboys right now. So being married to me exposed her to college football and in particular Fresno State, which she has adopted as her school because her school did not have a football program and she does love football. And she got into hockey because of me. And now she's a pretty good solid Kings fan, but it's because of me.
What was her first favorite team?
What do you mean?
She was a Ducks fan.
Not really.
Yeah, she was.
No, she wasn't.
Yes, she was.
She really
because
wasn't.
She's from Orange County.
Well, no, she's not from Orange County, but she lived down there when the Ducks were around.
She lived there, and so she's like, I'm going to get in. I'm going to be a hockey. I remember this clearly.
No,
and she said, I'm going to be a hockey fan because you love the hockey. I'm going to be a Ducks fan, and you told her no. You were not going to be a Ducks fan.
No, I think if you would have asked her at the time who would be your team, she probably would have said the Ducks because that's where she was at. But she was not into hockey. So you're wrong.
Jackie was a hockey fan when I met her. She was a Ducks fan because that was the closest NHL team. She grew up in San Diego. She would go to games by herself after work. She worked somewhere close enough that she could get to Anaheim, and that was her team. I forget why she got into the Ducks, but she did. Oh, that's right. She worked for KCAL, who broadcast Ducks games. And so she would watch them because they were on her network. She was on the news after the Ducks game. So she would be watching the games, waiting for it to end, and became a Ducks fan watching that, and then would go down and see games. And she would get the single ticket. So she'd go down there and say, I just need one. And that's how she ended up. She sat at the glass for games before and had great seats, because when you only need one, there's a lot of single seats available. It's when you need two that we only have two up here or there. So she saw a lot of games. And then when we met, I said, I like hockey too. I remember when I first started dating her, I would go up to her place, and she had the sports package that had all the hockey games. And I was like, oh my God, we didn't even have cable at our place, at our apartment. And so I'm like, oh my God, this is great. So I went up there, and I remember I would turn on. I watched a lot of Blue Jackets games just because they fascinated me, because they were never on national TV. So I would watch the Blue Jackets games, and much like my dad, would fall asleep watching the game on her couch, wake up, the game's over. I'd be like, who won? The Blues won. I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, she was a big hockey fan before I ever met her, and that's how she got into the Ducks. Next up is Karen Garcia with a question. How did that come about?
She's on Facebook.
Well, you're reading it.
How did you two end up with such amazing wives? Well, when you're an amazing man and an amazing husband, it's easy to find an amazing wife. Right? Am I right?
Sure.
Just lucky, I guess. You got an answer?
I would say, yeah. I met her at work. Our first date, as it were, was because I was literally working with Jackie one night, sitting right next to me, and we're getting done with the shift. And I said, man, I really don't want to go home tonight. And she said, why is that? And I said, my roommate's dating this hooker that lives next door, and they're going to be there. And not you, Eddie was not my roommate at the time, but he knows who I'm talking about.
Yeah. For those of you that think Doug's making this up, he kind of isn't.
I'm not. 100% I'm not. There's not one part of it I'm making.
I mean, but what, I don't know that she wasn't legitimately a hooker though, right?
She was an escort.
Okay.
She was a masseuse that offered the full service. She wasn't going to be. Anyway.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I said, they're going to be there. We live right next door to each other. And I said, we got a studio apartment. There's no walls. There's no privacy. There's no nothing. I just said, I'm just going to sit there and listen to them. I said, you feel like going out and getting some coffee or something after work? She's like, okay. So we went to Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf because she doesn't drink coffee, and hung out there. And then we started hanging out. And from there, the natural charm just took over. Mm-hmm. And because I'm a slow burn, you don't like me at first glance. But after a while, I think you warm up to me. So, no, but that's how we met and started hanging out. And so ultimately, I have to thank my former roommate for dating that woman, because otherwise I would have just gone home and never asked Jackie out. Joel Cook has the next one. He says, what rules would you change about the game? We already answered that. So I will move on to Will Holmes,
who I'll be playing hockey with in about an hour.
Yep. He says, why does the moon follow my car? When will Eddie bring me power bars from his other gift to our hockey game? I don't know what that means.
I think you probably meant gig.
Oh, other gig to our hockey game. When is our next podcast game? So we talked about that last part. Why does the moon follow my car? I have no idea what that means, but I don't think you should be driving if you think that happens. You're probably high and need to get an Uber. And I'll let Eddie answer the power bars thing.
Yeah, for the Locked On Kings show that I do, one of the big sponsors is Built Bars, and I'm supposed to get a box of them. I've not gotten my box of Built Bars yet. But
Wait a minute. You have not gotten your box yet?
No.
I've heard you attest to how delicious these are.
Yes, I'm lying.
I've heard you attest to how great, what your favorite flavor is.
Yes, lies, all lies. It's advertising. They're all lies. You think the people on these shows are actually doing it? No, they're not actually eating these products. Now, if they do send me a box, I will try it. But
why?
Why not?
Because if you don't like it, it's going to make it that way. They're delicious. Yeah.
Oh, as we said, there is a price for everything. Believe me. If I don't know, if Anchovy Pizza Company wants to sponsor the Puck Podcast, and I got to tell you how delicious it is, I'm telling you how delicious it is. So I'm
just being
honest about it.
You know me and Taco Bell. Is there any company you would not take advertising from?
Oh boy, probably, but it's not. It's a short list. There's got to be somebody out there. What was the Thrifty Rental Car? Yes, Thrifty Rental Car. If you remember that story, when I traveled and the rental car place screwed me over, they would not get to. I would say no. I would decline. So there's one that comes to mind.
I'll add Ticketmaster. I hate those bastards. I hate everything they stand for, their entire organization. And I couldn't bring myself to read a promo that said, "Oh, go to Ticketmaster.com. What a great legalized scalping."
And Will, if I do get that box of Built Bars, which I'm supposed to, I will absolutely bring them to our next hockey game, and the whole team can go at it.
And the whole team can puke on ice.
Well, maybe we'll wait till after the game then.
Yeah, we should eat these afterwards.
One of my old friends, Bruce Campbell, who may be an actor in the movie Evil Dead and other things, or may not, says, what players get kicked out of, when players get, when, I think he means what, but he says when, but he says what? What? Oh, God, I wish I could read. Sorry. Take two. We'll edit this out in post-production.
Yeah.
Bruce Campbell says, what gets players kicked out of the faceoff? I don't know the rule, and just by watching, I can never tell what they've done. Is it a penalty if the goalie plays the puck in the trapezoid? That was a two-part question there. The second part first, yes, it's a penalty it's a penalty if the goalie plays the puck in those corners, outside of the trap zone in the corners. He can play it in the trapezoid only, but cannot do outside of the trapezoid.
Inside the trapezoid or anywhere between the goal line and center ice.
Right.
He basically, the only place he can't go is below the goal line and outside the trapezoid. He cannot play the puck there.
Yeah. Well put. Better than what I could do. What gets players kicked out of the faceoff? Well, the visiting opponent is supposed to put his stick on the ice first, and he's not supposed to move his stick until the puck is dropped. And of course, players try to cheat it and fudge and get an advantage. If they do that, that's when they get either a warning or then get kicked out of the faceoff circle. So when you're watching a game, if your team is the home team, the other player puts his stick down first, and then as soon as the home player moves his stick, that's when the puck is supposed to be dropped. And if the other player tries to take an advantage and move his stick before then, that's when you get warned and kicked out of the faceoff circle. Did I explain that correctly?
I wasn't really listening.
Good.
But I will also add in, because I don't think you addressed this, and correct me if I'm wrong, if either winger
moves before the faceoff, yes.
That team, the center could have done nothing wrong, but that center will then get thrown out.
That's true. Yes, that's correct.
And if you're wondering, well, what about the one behind him? That's where the other refs come in and blow their whistle and they point to him and they're like, hey, that guy is cheating. Get him out of there. So, which I never really like, because the first one they throw out on any whim. And then the second time you could do anything, because they're not going to give you a penalty. If you get two faceoff violations, it's supposed to be a penalty. you see that maybe once a year if for your team, either for or against your team. It's extremely rare. So I say just drop the puck. They should just say, on 3, boys, 1, 2, 3, drop it, you know. Greg writes in and says, can Doug tell us how he really feels about Pierre Gauthier? Sure, I can. I hated him as GM. I used to hate him as a person, but I'm much more mellow than I used to be. So really right now, I couldn't care less. I met him years after he was the GM of the Ducks and took a picture with him, both of us smiling and happy. And so I didn't tell him to go fornicate himself. I didn't tell him to, eat feces and die. I didn't tell him anything. I just, I sure ultimately he thought he was making a good move. I think he was absolutely wrong. Of course, he's the one that traded Teemu Selanne to a division rival for Steve Shields and Jeff Friesen.
Steve Shields, who we mentioned on the podcast last week.
Yeah, and that's right. So I'm sure he thought he was making a good deal. He wasn't. He's wrong. It was awful. It was the worst trade in Ducks history, and broke my heart, pissed me off. But that's been 20 some years ago. So at this point, Jimmy cracked corn. I'm sure he's an old man, and it wasn't malicious. He didn't kill anybody. So he just made a bad trade.
Matt Stirs says, what was the cause of Eddie's fear of monkeys as told by Doug? Who would Doug rather be stuck in an elevator with, Gary Bettman or Dennis Leary?
Oh, Jesus.
And Eddie has to guess and explain his answer before Doug. Well, he hates Gary Bettman, but he doesn't want harm to come upon. I don't think Gary Bettman. I think you greatly dislike Dennis Leary more than you dislike Gary Bettman. You dislike both of them, but I would say that if you had a gun and only one bullet, that would be in Dennis Leary's head, and maybe you'd beat Bettman to death with the butt end. But I'm going to say Dennis Leary gets the bullet in that one.
You are correct. I saw Dennis Leary when I was still working on the Fox lot. He did the FX show
Rescue Me.
Sure. Whatever it was. And so he was on the lot. He was hanging out outside. I was going from one building to the other. I walked right past him, and I strongly considered telling him to go fornicate himself, to eat feces and die, and that he should have been an abortion. But I thought, I'm going to lose my job if I do that, so I'm not going to do that. If I was in public, if I was just walking the streets and I saw him, I would have absolutely said those things to him, because he is the biggest hack, thief of a comic. He stole material, persona, and fame from my favorite comedian of all time, Bill Hicks. It's not a matter of debate. It is fact. Because as soon as Bill Hicks died and he could no longer steal material from him, suddenly Dennis Leary's an actor. He's making Disney movies. Operation Dumbo Drop. Man, I would take excuse me, young man, can I borrow your skateboard so I can beat this man to death with it? Oh, I despise him. So if I was stuck in an elevator with him, only one of us are getting out of there. I can tell you that. Gary Bettman, I met him. I don't like the job he does, but again, I don't hate him really. I just don't like him as the commissioner. I don't think he's a bad person. I just think he's a lousy commissioner. So I've met him and I've talked to him, I think, a couple times. He's not a bad person. I just don't want him to ever be the commissioner of hockey again. It's been 30 years. Enough. You had your run. You're in the Hall of Fame. Let somebody else have a go at it. I think what we're going to have to do with Gary Bettman, though, is show him a picture of himself. I think he's Dorian Gray. I don't think he's ever going to die. What was the cause of Eddie's fear of monkeys? So he wants me to explain this?
I don't know, I guess.
Well, what was your I believe it's just you. If I remember correctly, you were on vacation with your family, I think in Alabama, and you went to the zoo, and one of the monkeys scared you, and you were 18 at the time, And you've never since enjoyed monkeys. From then on, you've hated them. All members of the monkey family. The monkeys, the orangutans, the chimpanzees, the gorillas, all of them. The primate family is out for Eddie.
Yeah. By the way, hello to Scout, who made an appearance behind you moments ago. I do not have any fear of monkeys. I don't like monkeys. I've never liked monkeys. I don't find them adorable. I don't find them interesting. I've never been a fan of monkeys, but I don't fear them. So that's a misnomer, apparently. I think you're up next, I think.
All right. Tony writes in, are you planning on having a referee or a team's equipment manager on your podcast? I think they would bring a great point of view on what happens behind the calls and behind the bench. Or has this already happened? Well, years ago, we had a team, not equipment manager, but a team trainer on the show because a guy I went to high school with was an NHL trainer. And so I coordinated with him when he was going to be in town, and we met up and I talked about that. So he was a guest many years ago. I don't believe we've had an equipment manager or a referee, but I would love to have both. That would be a good guest.
Well, one of my teammates on the team that I'm about to go play on as soon as we're done doing this is an off-ice official. He sits in the penalty box when players go into the penalty box. And I asked to have him on the show, and he has to get league approval to do an interview. And they're apparently very strict about doing things like that. And I kind of got the impression he wasn't really interested in doing it. And so I was like, it's okay. Don't worry about it. If it's a big deal, no big deal. So apparently that's,
we would need to get a retired one.
Yeah. Apparently that's not a thing that the league wants.
We can disguise his voice.
We could do the witness relocation thing. Or
whatever. Just a silhouette. Well, the biggest thing that is the problem that fans don't understand.
We've had, I know we used to have a listener. I don't know if he still listens. I think his name was Phil, who was the organist at, was it Pittsburgh, Doug? Does that ring a bell?
It does, but I don't remember the location.
Yeah, I think we talked to him way back in the day, early years of Puck Podcast. I don't know if he's still doing it. Obviously, that's been a long time ago. I have a little bit of a relationship with Dieter Ruhl, who is the organist for the LA Kings and the Los Angeles Dodgers. I'm planning to have him on the Locked On Kings podcast here in a little bit, but that we could probably get him on the Puck Podcast as well. But no, I don't. Yeah, I think we've had somebody like that before, but no equipment manager, no trainer or anything like that.
Tony continues saying, if travel between Canada and the United States was to be halted for any reason in the future for a long period of time, do you think Canada could start their own league to keep the Canadian teams going? 100%. You think back to the original days of the NHL, it was a 6-team league. They got 7 teams in Canada right now. So they could sell that as returning to the roots of hockey. Yeah, and we've got the original 6+1.
You get Quebec, you get another team in the Toronto area.
Yep.
I'm not sure where else, but sure.
Yeah, I think beat it, Manitoba.
Keith says, we are in a period of peace between players and management brought on by the pandemic, but how long do you believe this will last? Will players be patient while the salary cap mechanics are settled and the cap lifts again? The collective bargaining agreement, who has better? Oh, well, there was the collective bargaining and then it was ... just kind of stopped. Maybe he got somebody hit him over the head in the middle of typing. I don't know what happened there. He also says, who has better fan numbers next season, Ottawa, Florida, or Arizona? Well, Arizona obviously is not going to have anything.
In order.
Florida. Will be top,
Ottawa will be second, and Arizona will be third.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy.
Arizona could sell out every game, and they'll be dead last in attendance,
and probably will. Yeah. When are we going to? Yeah, I mean, when is the next when is the CBA up?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be the same dance that we always do with these types of things. It's the way it is in every sport. The players are going to get and push for everything they can. The owners are going to do the same. It's going to, I mean, I know in hockey, we're a little more sensitive to this because obviously we've lost full seasons numerous times, or
it expires in 2026,
or had seasons end prematurely. So I get it, but I mean, as soon as the CBA expiration date approaches, we're going to see what we always see. We're going to see both sides try and squeeze the most they can out of the other, and in the end, probably agree to something that both sides wish was a little bit different. But that's the way it goes.
Yep, 100%. It'll last until they begin negotiating, and then it'll be done because we got 4 more years before we have to worry about that. 4 more full seasons. So let's enjoy that and go from there. Next one comes from Dave Taylor, may or may not be the Hall of Famer.
Not a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Just a King's Hall of Famer.
Yep. In terms of time filler material, I have always been interested in hearing from the Puck Podcast wives, not necessarily hockey related, just a few minutes about them. Well, she's not here right now. She's at work, so I can't. And
my wife is not here as well.
Also, she's at her Charger game. Oddly enough, our wives are about 100 yards apart right now. Physical distance.
Oh, yeah. That's right. NFL Network is right there next to SoFi Stadium.
Yep. So, but I'll tell you a few minutes about Jackie. She is a perfect human, as far as I can tell. Love her to death. Funny, smart. She's a chef. And I don't just say that she's a good cook. She actually went to culinary school, graduated with honors. So she's a legitimate chef, and yeah, just definitely brings out the best in me. There's no doubt about that. It has made me the best version of myself I can be, and I always call her my better 2/3 because she keeps my instincts at bay, the bad ones, and enhances the good ones. And she is the most supportive. If I want to do something, she helps me find a way to make it happen. And I love her for that. Always supportive, always. I say this honestly. We've been married over 20 years. We've been dating or together for over 22. We have never once had a fight. There's never been an argument. It's just we are, and our saying with each other is, between the two of us, when we work together, there's nothing we can't do. So if one of us is frustrated by something, get the other person involved, and we'll figure it out somehow, some way. And that's always been our mantra, us against the world. And it's worked so far for 20 some years. So hopefully we got plenty more to go.
Yeah, I mean, I could say a lot of the same things about my wife. My life is infinitely better with her in it in many different ways. She's certainly a lot smarter than I am. She's a lot more compassionate than I am. She's made me, I think, be a kinder person, very thoughtful, sometimes maybe even overly, if you can be such a thing.
Yeah.
Always wants to buy gifts for people for doing things that we're paying them money to do and stuff like that. Oh, she came and she dog sat for us. We got to get her a gift. Why? We paid her to do it. What do we need to get her a gift for? It's the nice thing to do. Okay. All right. And yeah, she's very smart with money, really intelligent about all those kinds of things, saving money, investing money. I am completely clueless about all of that stuff. So yeah, I would be pretty lost without her for sure. She's a former special ed teacher and teaching, kids that have a lot of obviously mental problems and mentally developed problems and things like that. And so she's very patient in a lot of ways and very kind and things like that. So, and she's a gigantic sports fan, which I'm obviously thrilled about. I always wanted to find someone who was a sports fan. And I wonder, a lot of guys might think they would like that. And then once they find somebody like that, maybe they're like, oh, I don't know if I do like this, but I've always enjoyed watching sports with her, and she loves picking my brain on stuff with sports and wants to know more about the games and stuff like that. So we have a good time going to games. I know she, she comes like to Fresno State games and things like that, and she enjoys it just as much as I do. So it's really cool to have somebody who just has a passion for the same things that you have. Let's see. Eddie says, "What's your favorite logo design of the current teams?"
Where are you going? You just jumped past 3 people.
Oh, I did. But you know why? Because Dave's on here twice, and I saw Dave.
Oh, Dave, you're out. Your next one's out.
Okay. Let's go to Leslie then. Leslie says, you guys have a really cool day jobs in sports, but is there a downside to having your work and hobbies in the same general areas? So I guess wondering, do we ever get burnt out on
Yeah,
sports?
let me stop you there, Leslie. They're not day jobs for either one of us.
Well, night jobs, I guess.
We work the overnights.
Yeah. Honestly, no. I will say I really don't ever get tired of sports, although I do, like during the NHL offseason or during the NFL offseason, I don't like, man, I can't wait for it to come back. Oh, I miss it so much. No, I'm like, I kind of like having a break from it. And then when it starts up again, I'm excited about it again. But I'm not, it's not like, oh man, I wish the season didn't end. It's kind of like enjoying a certain season of the year, I guess, right? If you're, oh, I love summer, but I don't need it to be summertime. I know we're in LA, but 12 months a year. Yeah. But no, I don't get tired of it, but I also don't ever listen to sports talk radio when I'm not working because I get plenty of that in my life. So yeah, I definitely like to find time to do some other things, but I don't get burnt out on sports if that's the question.
Yeah, I don't, I have not found a downside to it because it's our hobby. It doesn't feel like work. You go to a job and we both had jobs that feel like work, and this isn't it. What's a bad day at work for you? You're talking about sports on the radio with other people, with sports fans and people that you've been working with for years and consider friends. And what's a bad day for me? I'm busy, getting NFL highlights and NFL footage. And, oh no, I have to find a good highlight from an NFL game. I have no downside at all. I love it. Love where I work, love the people I work with, love the results. And, we both are very fortunate that we have jobs in industries that we are passionate about and have been our whole lives, because it feels like fun when you go. You're excited to go to work a lot of times. That's not always been the case for me. Mark says, you both often talk about video games. Is there a game you absolutely love but are terrible at? Yeah, Mark, every first-person shooter, every quest game that I have to, the fighting games. The games where you need to be an octopus to do it well, because you got to hit 15 buttons in the right order at the right time. F that. I'm terrible at those things. I love them. I love the graphics. I love the concepts but I'm terrible at them. And then I get frustrated. So I put it away. And the same is true really of sports games. Like, I love the sports games. I'm not good at them, but I can play them. But then if I go up a certain level, it's like, it's 40-0 and I'm getting my ass kicked. I go the other way and it's 40-0 for me. And I'm like, there's got to be a middle ground here where it's fun, but it's still competitive. So first person shooter games frustrate the hell out of me for sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty bad at everything other than Star Wars Battlefront, which is the game we've played for years now. So I better be decent at it with all the time we've invested in it. But
right.
There's that one time, didn't we try and do some kind of first person like war game? And I didn't even know where they were killing me from. They were just picking me off right and left. I'm like, I don't even know who shot me. I didn't just like, the hell with this.
Yeah. No, those games. And then the game that I really like is Red Dead Redemption. That game is a lot of fun because it's open-ended. You can kind of go
just the time though you have to invest in it is hard.
You ain't kidding.
Yeah.
You ain't kidding. But I really like the puzzle games, like the Sims and Sim City and those kinds of things. I like those games that are a little bit, again, time investments, but more cerebral than reactionary and that stuff. So You're up next from Eddie
Uh,
now.
All right. Eddie says, what's your favorite logo design of a current team, and which is your favorite of the now defunct franchises? Maybe Doug answered that with Thrashers earlier. I'm not sure. Favorite logo design. I've always liked the Red Wings. Always thought that was cool. You know, it's kind of interesting. The old winged wheel there. Thought that was a pretty cool logo. Defunct franchises. I did not like the Quebec Nordiques. I thought that was a stupid logo. I guess I'd have to go Hartford, right? That's a pretty easy one. They had the H and the W with the whale tail.
I mean, it's one of the greatest logos of all time. It's just almost impossible to beat that. It's reflective of the team. It's got the initials of the city and the team in it. It's unique. It's the only one that comes close is the old Milwaukee Brewers, because it was an MB in the shape of a glove, and it took Eddie 30 years to figure out that's what it was.
Yeah, I thought
because
that's the stupidest logo of all time. Oh my God, how could I have never seen that?
Yeah,
I'm an idiot.
But no, the current logos, I'm trying to think of one that I like. Nothing's coming off the top of my head. It's just like, wow, I really love that logo. I'd probably have to go the Predators. I like that one. It's bold. It's unique. It's cool. It's, I mean, that's probably up there. The rest of them don't really do much for me as far as, you know, I guess the Sharks is iconic. Probably the Sharks would be up there as well, but I'm just so used to it because it's been such a cool logo for 30 years now that I don't think of it as like a really cool logo, but it is a really cool logo. It's well done. But I like the Predators logo a lot. Jamie writes in, why are there ELCs, entry-level contracts? Surely anyone has the right to earn their maximum. What if a player got a career-ending injury on an ELC and thus only earned $3 million over 3 years, but played to a value of $20 million, as McDavid did? Well, the reason is because the owners have made it so. That's it. They don't want to have to pay young players what they're worth. And so they've negotiated this in, and I don't know why the players continue to go along with it, but they do. And I think most of the reason the players do probably is because the veterans are the ones that are voting on it, not the next generation. And they want their money. They want the money to be spent on veterans. And if the ELC did not exist and you had to pay Connor Bedard $8 million a year in his first year, there's going to be less money for the veterans. So they don't want that. So they continue to support it. But I always liked my dad's idea of all team sports, you should be paid based on two things. One, a win should get every single player the same amount on the team. So we won the game. We all get $50,000. You all want to win the game. And then individual stats get you more from there. So the better you do, because he said that's how it is in golf. That's how it is in tennis. You control what you make. If you win that tournament, you get the money. If you don't, you don't. There's no guaranteed check. You know, that's it. So it's performance based. And this thing of you're getting $40 million this year, whether you play well or not. Well, guess what I don't care about? How well I do. Because I already got the contract and it's guaranteed. So if every goal was worth $5,000, if every assist was worth $5,000, you'd see a lot more people asking to be on the ice when it's for an empty net goal time, because that's money in the bank. But the players, no matter who it was, any player that had a great season could make a lot of money that season.
I'm going to let you read and answer Tiffany's question because you'd have to answer it anyway. So I might as well let you just read it. But I'll skip down to Brendan. And he says, do you think Jake Virtanen will come back to the NHL? Are there any teams you think would make a suitable fit for him? And if you don't remember, Jake Virtanen was accused of sexual assault and was acquitted recently. I mean, I assume somebody would give him a chance if he had the ability to play anymore. I mean, from what I remember, he was kind of a marginal NHL player when these allegations came out. And as is the case in professional sports, many times, see Deshaun Watson. If your talent is at a certain level, they will overlook just about anything. But I don't know that. Like again, he's been acquitted, so he should, is based on that, he shouldn't have any issues trying to get employment. I don't know though that his talents are such that a lot of teams are looking to add him at this point. But as far as him, if the LA Kings wanted to sign him for some reason to give him a chance, I certainly would be fine with it from the standpoint of his off the ice issues. But I don't know that he's a guy that's very much in demand at this point.
I don't think he is ever going to play in the NHL again because he's not good enough. And that's why he's not going to play. It has nothing to do with his legal issues at this point. He was acquitted. And as you said, Eddie, and as we've seen in the NHL, if you're good enough, they don't care what you did. They will sign you. Teams want to win. They want the best players possible. So if you're legally allowed to play in the league and you're good, they will find a justification. But if you're not very good, if you're just a middling player or a bottom of the roster player, and you have even the sniff of a problem, well, suddenly they draw a line. We can't have this on our team. Goodness gracious! Oh,
it's that story. It's that story you've told a million times, and I've heard a million people say it as well. Troy Aikman falls asleep in the meeting. What does Jimmy Johnson do? He says, "Troy, can I get you some coffee?"
Yeah, hey Troy.
Some other guy does it, some third string guy, and he's in the parking lot. He's gone. Yeah. So yeah.
And that was Jimmy Johnson saying, he told me that story as part of a group meeting, and because that actually, a guy fell asleep, a special teams player fell asleep in a meeting, and he cut him that day. And somebody asked him, "What would you have done if that was Troy Aikman?" I'd have gone back there and said, "Hey, Troy, wake up," and then I would have left the room because we needed Troy to win. We didn't need this guy to win. So don't expect to be treated the same as everybody. You're treated to the value that you bring to the organization. That's it. So if you're an important person in the organization, you can get away with a lot. If you're not, you can't get away with nothing. So know that going in. That's a good lesson for young people in professional world. Tiffany's email or question says, "I hate to ask a technical question, but can you explain the whole escrow thing in the bargaining agreement? I still don't understand it. Explain it to me like I hate accounting, which I do." I will do my best because here's my understanding. So the players get a contract. Let's say you're making $5 million. You don't actually make the $5 million. The escrow, which they set at each season, takes a chunk of your paycheck out of it before you even get it. So if you make $5 million, let's say for the sake of argument that they're taking 20% in escrow. So that's $1 million off the top. Now you got $4 million. Then you pay your taxes, then you pay your agent, and then you get your actual paycheck. Now at the end of the year, the NHL will look at how much they've taken from the players and what their revenue was. And if there is a shortfall, if they have ended up paying the players more than 50% of revenue, then they keep the escrow to make it good up until the 50%, until the 50% is met. So if the players got more than 50% of league revenue, the escrow is used to get the owners back to 50%. If the owners got more than 50%, the escrow is returned to the players until it is 50%. So that's my understanding of it. I'm not a capologist, but that is my understanding of it. And that's why the players hate it but that's what they negotiated. They negotiated 50-50 with the owners. So at the end of the year, and the reason they do it in an escrow is because they're not going to be able to track down every player after the season and be like, hey, whoa, we paid you guys too much. We need you all to write us a check. That money's spent, my man. It's gone. I don't know what to tell you, but I'm not writing you a check. So by taking it in escrow ahead of time, they actually get their money.
Our next email comes from Tony, who asks, most ridiculous pet name. I've heard of a cat named Steve Lazar 9000. That is an interesting name. It is always funny when I take our dogs to the vet and the receptionist will always call out the pet name and then the last name of your last name of the customer, basically.
Yep.
And you'll be like, Anakin Goldstein, something like that.
Are you sure it's the pet?
Yeah, who knows, Fluffy Johnson. No, there's definitely been some Star Wars names like Anakin. Anakin is one I actually have heard attached to another name that was a little bit silly. That's the only one that comes to mind.
Yeah, I don't remember too many absurd pet names. I mean, my dad always wanted to get a Doberman Pinscher and name it Satan. And he said 2 reasons. One, they look like it. He always thought if the devil has a dog, surely it's a Doberman Pinscher. It just looked like a dog that would guard the gates of hell, get a spike collar. And 2, he said, if it ever got lost, I would love to go door to door and ask people if they've seen Satan. Excuse me, I'm looking for Satan. Have you seen him? Satan.
Or if you're a robber coming in the house and you hear Satan attack,
get him, Satan.
Maybe you hit the door. I don't know.
Yeah. So that was always my dad's thing. And funny, my dad always told me and my siblings, if you name your child Robert, we will babysit for free, and that'll be our favorite grandchild. Little Robert. He always wanted to have a kid named after him. None of them did it. And my 2 brothers and my sister all had, my one brother did not. He had a daughter. But my brother had 2 daughters or 2 sons, and my sister had a son. None of them named him Robert. So I named my first dog with Jackie. The official registration name was Little Robert's Biscuit. And I showed him that paperwork, and then my dad's like, well, we have our favorite. And he's like, Biscuit is always welcome. Little Robert's Biscuit is always welcome here at the house. And he does not like Scout. So let's get to JP. He says, Eddie, I hope your wife is feeling better. Are you and Doug playing any new games lately? Are either of you planning to watch The Rings of Power? Ed, are you going to watch? Did you watch Lord of the Rings? Was that the name of the show?
The movies, yes, I did.
Not Lord is that what that's based on? It's not Game of Thrones.
Yes.
It's Lord of the Rings.
Well, it is a little confusing, perhaps, because there is a Lord of the Rings prequel and a Game of Thrones prequel. I think that's House of Dragons is the Game of Thrones one. They're both coming out about the same time, so I could see. Will I watch this? If I have time, I will. I'm interested in watching it, but it seems like more and more I am having less and less time to watch movies and TV.
And this is the off season.
I know. But
give it a month.
With football season now starting up and going to college and NFL games and now doing the extra Locked On LA Kings podcast and doing this show and my job, I'm not finding the time that I used to. We just renewed our Disneyland season passes yesterday, so we're doing that every Friday. So I'm not complaining, but if I'm interested, yes, I am interested. If I find the time, I will try and check it out. I think you asked me about this, Doug. I think you asked me, am I a binge watcher? I love binge watching shows. If I can find the time to sit down for 6 hours and watch 6 hours worth of some show that I like. I love doing that. I enjoy the show Westworld on HBO. I think it's like season 4 or 5 at this point. And I had forgotten it started up again because it had been off for, I think, 2 years or something. And then I was like, oh crap, it's back. And I watched like 5 episodes in one night and loved it. And almost watched the entire thing. So if I have the time, I will definitely check it out. By the way, he asked if my wife was feeling better. This was obviously a few weeks ago when she had COVID. Yes, she's feeling much better. Thank you for that. I think the rest is for you.
New games lately? No.
No, we're not. No.
I'm not. He said, Doug, as an avid gardener and beekeeper, do you have a favorite native plant you find good for pollinators? Greetings from Tennessee. Well, for sure. I don't know that it's my favorite, but lantana grows like a weed. The bees love it. So that would be the easiest one. As for my favorite plants, artichoke is one of my favorites because I like artichoke. But if you let the artichoke over ripen, it blooms into this amazing flower that I never knew. And it's these long purple spines. And then the bees go through that to get down to the flower at the bottom. And so as the bees walk around, it's like these little ripples of the flowers kind of like moving and alive. And it's very cool looking. So I like those a lot.
Joe asks, answer any combination of these you like. 1, what is the best and what is the worst Star Wars movie / show ever? 2, which Star Wars character or creature would Eddie and Doug least like to fight together in a cage match to the death? I guess the second part, maybe the would be difficult to fight the Rancor.
100%, because we're not Jedi.
That might be a tough chore.
Yeah.
Well, I'd have to say, without seeing those 2 Star Wars shows that we were planning on watching, was a Caravan of Courage and whatever the other one's called, I'd have to go with the holiday special as being the worst Star Wars show ever made. I know that Doug might, I don't know if Doug will answer anything with Jar Jar in it, which I certainly could understand, but that holiday special thing is just
I mean, does that even count?
He said movie or show. That's a show.
All right, let's take that out. What's the worst other than that? And what's the best?
I would say I've always had trouble answering that because the Star Wars is the first movie I ever saw, and so that makes it just so impactful on an 8-9-year-old never gone to the movies before, and you go to that movie and to have that theater experience. But if I was just picking the movie and kind of taking that aside, I would go Empire Strikes Back as the best Star Wars movie for me.
Empire Strikes Back is the best. The worst is absolutely I guess the Phantom Menace.
That's the first one. That would be episode 1.
That was awful. Absolutely awful. I remember watching that. I was so excited to go see that. Star Wars is back. It's been years. I'm prime age for this. I grew up with it. I love it. I can't wait.
They did a good job with the trailer. I remember us watching the trailer and being orgasmic.
The poster of just having the kid with Darth Vader's shadow on the hut in Tatooine. I'm like, oh, this is going to be amazing. George Lucas has never done anything wrong. And within like 30 minutes, I was like, this isn't going well. And it got worse. And by the end, I was angry. And that was back in the days where, I was just such a prick back then that I would have, if I saw George Lucas, I would have punched him right in the face and just demanded my money back. It was awful.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah. And then I don't even know if Jar Jar was in that one, was he?
Oh, yes.
Was that the main one he was in?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, because that had the pod race and everything. Yeah, it was it was like, what the hell is going on here? And plus the opening scene, correct me if I'm wrong, we've been waiting for years. And the title comes on. And it's all about like trade negotiations. I'm like, what the? I don't give a damn. Oh my God, a trade. Oh, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
And then they get the 2 Jedis that are supposed to be the best in the galaxy show up and immediately get hoodwinked into being locked into a room. Ooh. Like, good God. Awful. And then for some reason, I went and saw the second one. and it wasn't any good either. And then I went and saw the third one because I'm like, well, I thought honestly the third one was going to be the last one they ever made. I thought he's killed this franchise. I got to see how it ends. And it ended, and I was like, awful. And then the rest of them, they've really done a good job with the reboots and all the new stuff. I haven't disliked any of them. I thought Rogue One was excellent. That's probably my second favorite movie of all time in the Star Wars genre.
They're re-releasing it in IMAX because of the Andor TV show. I don't know if you know about that. That's coming out.
I don't, but yeah, I love that. So there you go. And yeah, definitely the Rancor. I got no interest in fighting that thing. We could never beat that. Tyson Wright's
amongst
favorite,
many other creatures.
Yeah, as opposed to the ones we could beat up.
Yeah,
you know, a Jabba by himself, maybe. I mean, a restrained woman in a bikini killed him. So I'd like to think we have a chance. Favorite post-Endgame MCU movie? And if you're feeling overly brave, rank the most recent MCU releases. This includes Disney Plus shows and theatrical releases. Post-Endgame. What was, you're going to have to refresh my memory, Ed. What has been, is that basically phase 4?
Yeah. We've had a couple of Spider-Man movies since then. We've had, let's see, Eternals. There's been a Doctor Strange movie since then. And several shows, WandaVision, Moon Knight.
I have not been watching She-Hulk. I never watched Miss Marvel. I didn't watch Moon Knight. I never finished Hawkeye. I basically checked out after Loki.
Huh. Okay. I've loved all of the Disney Plus TV shows except for the latest one. I did not care for Miss Marvel at all. That's the only one I've actually disliked, to be honest with you. The best movie. She-Hulk? I will. You'll either watch it tonight or tomorrow. I haven't had time to watch it yet, and I've got a hockey game at 8:00, so I'll probably be home around 11. I'll probably watch it tonight. The best movie to me was the latest Spider-Man movie, No Way Home. I think it was Spider-Man No Way Home, with all the other Spider-Mans coming back, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. That was the best one post Endgame for me.
And I go with Far From Home. I liked the Spider-Man Far From Home a lot. I have not been a big fan of Phase 4. If you want me to, Tyson says you rank the most recent releases. I'll just look at the movies because those are the ones I've seen. Hang on there, big man. I'll let you out in a second, Mr. Beefy. I know.
That sounds like Satan right there.
Yeah, right? He wants out.
Let me out.
The Eternals was terrible. Shang-Chi was very good. I liked that one. Black Widow was okay. Spider-Man No Way Home was very good. Doctor Strange was terrible. I have not seen Thor Love and Thunder yet. So that's my quick recap of those.
Eric says, I love the Ask Ed and Eddie and Doug, or is it Ask Doug and Eddie off-season segment? Have you ever done sports commentary at any level? If you could commentate any elite level sport, would you? Yes. I guess you're talking about play-by-play. That's what I always dreamed of doing. So
which sport would you want to do?
I would want to, if I could have any job, I would probably want to be the voice of Fresno State. Our
really?
Water. Yeah.
For all games, all sports?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because then I'm busy all year long. I've got a job all year long. But it would be, football is by far the sport I know the most and would probably be the best at. But to this day, I miss doing high school football games. You and I did it together for a while. Absolutely loved it. Just so much fun. And high school football just started up this past Friday, just yesterday here in California. So miss going to those games and doing all that. So
I did hockey with the Fresno Falcons for the ECA, or was it the West Coast Hockey League, WCHL, back in the day. I did play-by-play or color commentary for them. I did play-by-play of high school football. And if I could name my job, I would be the play-by-play for Monday Night Football, because that was always the prime game growing up to me, was Monday Night Football. I know it's not anymore, but I would want to have that last game of the week where you know what's happened and it's a marquee matchup usually. And one game a week, layup city, man. I can call that all day. So, and I can tell you right now, I would do a better job right now. Pick me up, drive me to the stadium. I'd do a better job than Joe Buck. That guy sucks. Sucks.
All right. Well, the good thing is
his dad was a great announcer.
The good thing is he doesn't do a lot though. Oh wait, he is doing Super Bowl.
No, he doesn't do anything anymore. He only does Monday Night Football.
Yeah, well, he was doing everything.
Yeah.
Is it me or you?
I believe it's me.
Yeah.
And this is my last one. This is from Zen. He says, stand on a Lego brick or catch a finger in a door. Which would you rather do? I'm guessing he's asking. I would definitely rather stand on a Lego brick.
Yeah, I've done both. And we had back in Fresno, we had a garage door that was like a sectional thing, right? It could bend because it was in sections. And so there was a little groove in between each section. And I was pulling the garage door down because we were in college. We didn't have a garage door opener. And I put my hand up and it got caught in the groove, and sweet baby Jesus, I didn't break my finger, but God, just thinking about it right now makes my hand hurt.
The visceral pain. Yeah,
man, that was bad. And I mean,
shit up here. Big man wants to go outside.
All right. Well, you could limp around after you step on a Lego, but you need your hands, especially if it's your right hand. All right. Our final question comes from Aiden, and he says, favorite In-N-Out order. And if you don't know, In-N-Out is a very famous Southern California burger joint, which to me is very overrated. I'm not saying it's not good. It's good. But the fact that every time I drive by In-N-Out, there's 12 cars in the drive-thru is absurd to me. That's why I don't go. It's not that good. I'm not going to wait that long. I'm just not. But my go-to In-N-Out order is double, grilled onions, and fries and a shake.
Well, not just grilled onions.
Yeah, just grilled onions.
Just grilled onion. No lettuce?
Oh, yeah, lettuce. Okay. Lettuce.
That's what I mean. Tomato?
No, I don't need no tomato.
No sauce?
Yeah, sauce, sure.
That's what I'm saying. Not just
you don't have to ask for sauce though. No, like when I place my order, I say double with grilled onions.
I understand that, but I'm saying people that don't know think you're getting a double, which is two patties and 2 pieces of cheese with just grilled onions, and that's it. So mine is, and there's an In-N-Out burger within walking distance of my house, which is both great and bad. If the wind catches it right, I can smell the grilled onions from my house, and that's brutal.
I used to get gas at a gas station that was next to the In-N-Out just so I could smell it when I was pumping my gas. That's how it is.
I like the double, raw onions, fried mustard, chopped chilies,
fried mustard.
Yeah, they put mustard on the buns, and then they fry the buns with the mustard on it, so it fries it into the bread, gives a little crispy tang. Fantastic. Chopped chilies, raw onions, tomato, lettuce, sauce. Fantastic. And then fries, well done. So they put them back in, get them a little crispier.
Well, you are quite the diva with your order there.
100%. You got to try it to know if you like it.
Okay. All right. Doug's got to take the dog out, and I got to go play hockey. So thank you all very much for watching this. Again, if you are a patron on Patreon, you're getting to watch this early because we like to take care of the people that are supporting us. And not that the people who aren't giving us money aren't supporting us, but you know what I'm saying. You get a little extra when you pay. I mean, that's just the way the world works. So thank you again for supporting us on Patreon. We really appreciate it. And if you're watching this after the fact, don't feel too jealous because, they're paying a little extra. They get a little bit extra. So anyway, thank you as always for watching. Hope you enjoyed this edition of Ask Doug and Eddie, or Eddie and Doug. And we'll talk to you next time on Patreon with some special content coming up. Thank you very much. Thank you.